Well, you see my 357 Magnum lever action rifle before with the scope on it. And actually, I threw the scope on it as an afterthought one time. There was a pair of silver scopes that were on sale. It's a 4-power. 4-power is like the absolute most you ought to put on a rifle for a 357, man. And actually, I painted it. He's a spray can of primer or flat black, and it came off with the gun oil after a while. It didn't look as bad with the flat black. Anyway, I got my cat fire team over here. There's Goldie and Rocky, and here's Putin. So anyway, what I decided to do is this is a cheap one, but you know what I'm doing? I'm not too keen on scopes, actually. What I like them though for is sometimes you just can't see a further target that well, or you're not 100% sure of the target, like if you're going out hunting and stuff. But on this rifle, a 357, a 4-power is like really the absolute top. And maybe you should have like a 1x4 or 1x3, but even make it more simple, fixed power. This is a 2.5 power. So this is a Barska. It's not an expensive scope, but it's not a bad scope. But look at the size difference between that and this. In other words, this is not going to look so ridiculous on this rifle, because I don't really like scopes on rifles, but then on lever actions. But a Marlin, I tell you, the real reason they didn't put them on lever actions is because most of the lever actions out there are Winchesters, and the Winchester's got the top eject, and you got to have the scope a little to the side. And that really doesn't look good. This has it ejects over here, right? Ejects right there off the side. So actually, I think I'm getting another one of these levers. I'm going to get a Marlin 44 maybe pretty soon. It's kind of cool having a 44 in a pistol and a rifle, and a 357 in a pistol and a rifle. But I decided to put these mounts on here. I don't see how these look, because I do not like having scope only. I really don't. I really hate that. I like the iron sights. I just like the scope sometimes because you could see, if you got a distance shot, the scope definitely comes in handy. If you got to see where the hell, just got to make sure of what your target acquisition is. It's better having a scope right on the rifle than try to, you know what I'm saying, use optics. So I'm going to take this off. We'll put these rings on it, and I guess they'll stick up. They're not going to stick up too much higher, I don't think. It might be about up to here, but it's going to have this little scope on it. It'll probably be sitting right about there. And I think that'll be okay, because then I can use the dovetail sights. Not a fan of dovetail sights. Actually, if I was going to only have iron sights on this, it'd definitely be a peep sight. Probably a Skinner sight that has the... It's got like it sits in a protective thing. I like that, like it sits in a U channel. Probably the Skinner peep sight, which sits in like a U channel. I don't know what you call that. But I found these things are good too, because when you put them on, even if, like, say, I found when you're looking through the under the scope, you could pick up your iron sights faster looking through these two rings down here. So that's how I set up everything. I always do it that way. Simple rifle sling, and I don't. This is actually an old used sling. I'm not trying to win some beauty contest here, but to me, function is everything. If they had scopes back in the day, they would have used scopes. I mean, if they were cheap, right? They would have used scopes. But this is a small enough scope that it's light. It's very light. There's no power adjustments. 2.5 power. 2.5 power is going to be plenty for a 357 Magnum. And I'll still have the iron sights. So let's see how this looks. That's what it looks like before. It didn't look so bad when I had it painted flat black. I guess if I used, didn't have it back then, you had that 2-part gun coat or something, it would have never came off. But this was just painted with, Rust-Oleum flat black. It came off when I cleaned the weapon and wiped it down. Eventually it came off. Didn't look as bad when it was originally on there flat black. Now it's silver. But it's not the right power though, and it's only the scope. I don't like that. I want to have the scope with 2.5 power. That's more in line with a 357 Magnum rifle, plus be able to use the iron sights. So let's see what this. It's not so much that I'm really. It'll look better, but I'm really looking at function, not looks. I know some people hate freaking scopes on levers, but a little lightweight scope like that should be fine. Yeah, and Boots the Cat shows right up in the middle of my scope change out project, so we got to give him some Mr. Meow Meow food with his chicken chicken treats and his meow mix and fresh water. Right, buddy? You're the 4th member of the fire team. You're the scout. You're the scout guy that goes out there and snooping and pooping in the woods for the other 3 while they're back here at base, right? Right, buddy? All right. Well, you can see that definitely improved the appearance of the rifle, but I'm not really concerned so much with the appearance. But this scope is definitely a lot heavier than the other scope. So when I pick up this rifle, I really don't notice it. The only thing is, and I kind of figured this was going to be the case, because I might not keep these dovetail sights anyway. I'll probably put a peep sight up here and raise up this front sight. I can't see the dovetail through here. You can't see it. You can't see the dovetail through there. But be that as it may, I found it for if you guys really do quick point shooting from I don't know, 7 yards or something, just looking through this and centering up these holes without even picking up the sights, because these actually your eye seems to freaking center up the center of those holes inside there. That's why I like these see-through scope mounts where you can use the iron sights too, because if you're on a really close distance, like 7 yards, you want to make a really quick shot, your eye will basically center these holes up really quick, and you'll be pretty close on target for about 7 yards away, 5 to 10 yards, where it's going to be good enough. So, but I do like the way this looks though. I mean, it doesn't look bad. Let's see if I can move that out of the way, but you can see how it looks a lot better now to me. That looks a hell of a lot better. It doesn't really look bad on a lever action at all. Unfortunately, like I said, I can't use those stock sights on here. I don't like those type of sights though anyway. I'm going to probably put some peep sights on it. I know they have the receiver mount peep sights, but that looks like that's not going to be an option. And maybe it's this mount. Maybe I can get a mount that goes a little lower than this, but I don't know what the hell a mount would go lower than that. Basically what I'm going to have to do is get some sights. But I don't really need them though. Don't really need them. This scope should be okay, because at 2.5 power, I noticed even 5 yards away it's in focus. And the only thing I got to do now is bore sight it, and I'll show you what I got for that. You also got to use this. This is 22 to 50 caliber laser bore sighter. It uses adapters. Right now it's got the 22 adapter on it, but it just fits in here. You have to put the 38 caliber adapter in it, and you turn it on and it shoots out a laser light, and you sight your scope in, and if you're not exactly perfect, you're going to be pretty damn close to perfect. The only thing where it's going to be off is that the bullet trajectory might go a little higher and lower over distances, but the laser sight will get you extremely close. Actually, that should really suffice pretty much. So I'll be doing that. But yeah, I might be putting on some peep sights on this sucker too, but I don't really need them too much. Like I said, a lot of people don't realize the reason I really love these rings like this is because when you look in there, your eye basically centers up those 2 circles. So for real short distances, you pretty much don't need the sights. You just look through those 2 circles and boom, you got it. The target acquisition is really great. And also with this scope though, with that 2.5 power, a lot of people don't realize a 1 power scope, when you look through a 1 power scope, I got to go on here a little longer. When you look through a 1 power scope, it actually looks like the distance is a little further, even though it's not. It seems around a 1.5 to 1.7 power seems where it's just a hair bigger, but it's like if you're looking through a 1-power scope, it almost looks like it's further away. I don't know why the hell that is. It just seems that way. So I always like having a scope at least 1.5 to 1.7 power or 2 power. But 2.5 power, you can tell you got a little more. You got a little more strength, but you can practically use both eyes open. Like with both eyes open, I'd say that's about a 1.5 power to 1.5 to 2 power, 1.7 power. But 2.5 power, target acquisition is very quick. And I like this, even though it's a cheap scope, I decided to get a cheap scope that was fixed power because there's less garbage to go wrong with it. And, you know, even with these cheap scopes, really the reason they're cheap is quality control. Sometimes they last a gazillion years. You know, if they're made right, if they're, you know, if you got a good one, you got a good one. It's just that, you know, with the cheap scope, sometimes some things slip through the quality control, but most of the time they're going to be really good, especially with just a, you know, a 357. This isn't like a 300 Win Mag or some garbage like that, or a 30-06, or, you know, it's just a 357 pistol caliber, and doesn't have a lot of recoil, so don't think that scope's going to have a problem with it. So that's my setup. I do think it looks good, and you know, that's not really what I'm aiming for here, but it does look good. It looks a lot better than that monster scope that was on here, this big thing. And the weight difference when I'm picking up the rifle, I really, you know, it's feels like a light, quick rifle, even with that little scope on it. And even though I don't, like I said it before, even though I don't have the dovetail sights aren't working right because they're blocked by the, you know, the scope mount. Like I knew that was going to happen. Matter of fact, they're not high enough. Just using these rings going through, not the rings, but yeah, the rings, the see-through mounts. A lot of times, if I'm doing a quick shot, that's how I fire anyway, for a real short distance. And it's faster than sights, and it's accurate enough. So it's a pretty good setup. And my whole thing is function over looks, but I do think it looks good too.